Is always in style. We're so glad that you've joined us today. We're going to have a very special guest, and I'll talk about him in just a moment. But as you know, on KXEX 1550 AM, Saturdays you can hear Powell to the People at 4 o'clock and Sundays at 6. And we talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, and healthy communities, and just about anything you want to hear about. You can hear about it on Powell to the People. Also, Good News with Larry Powell. Nothing but good news stories Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. You can catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We've got it. You can listen at your leisure. We're so glad that you're with us today. And I'll tell you what, I was just reviewing the week, and it's been a crazy week. You know, keep praying for all the folks in Ukraine because what a tough place that's right now. It's just crazy there. But I'll tell you, Convoy for Hope is doing some wonderful things out of Poland for all of the refugees that are trying to escape Ukraine and find some help. And they're finding help and hope from Convoy for Hope. So I'll tell you, People's Church did a really good thing. They got almost $50,000 to them a couple of weeks ago to help them with all of the needs that they have and help the folks that are refugees. Plus, we have a number of refugees from the Ukraine who have made it to Fresno, and we're doing some things to try to help them out as well. Paul Dictos, our county assessor, is involved in that, and we're looking for housing and ways to make their transition here to Fresno from the Ukraine a really good thing. So a lot of positives going on. Also, I'll tell you, with all of the crazy shootings and stuff, keep praying for the schools. You know, now that school is out, we've got a little respite and a little break from that, it looks like, but you know, keep praying that wisdom prevails and that we end up with, you know, just some really good decisions. I did like what Fresno Unified did the other day. The board decided to put officers, campus resource officers, back on middle school campuses for this coming school year. So we're really glad about that. Good news. Thank you, Fresno Unified superintendent and board, for thinking of our kids and getting some officers back on campus. As a former county superintendent of schools, I'll tell you what, campus resource officers trained well are absolutely fantastic. The kids get along with them. They do some great things. They're not just a cop on campus. They are friends on campus, and it's a good thing to have. So kudos to Fresno Unified for stepping up and putting them back on campus. So a lot of good things. Yesterday I had to, actually a couple of days ago, I had to do a funeral, officiate at a funeral of Monty, Prieto, who is just a great guy, a teacher out at Clovis West who passed too early. Wonderful turnout, just really an amazing time. Keep his family in prayer. It's a tough thing losing somebody at 43. Hey, but we're back with Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. My guest today is Fredy Tshibanda. I'll tell you what, Fredy, I'm so glad that you're with us today. Welcome to KXEX.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I'm just having fun already, just listening to you.
Well, thank you, Fredy. I'll tell you what, you and I have been friends for a long time.
Yes, sir.
You're a mechanical engineer.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little bit about how did you end up from the Congo to America to a mechanical engineer in Fresno, California. We're going to talk about your history and some things, but you've written a book, Engineered to Make a Difference. We're going to talk about that as well.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot of, you have such an interesting life, and I love your energy. You've also got a mentoring program for elementary kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you're everywhere. You got a lot of things going.
Yeah. No, God has been so good to me, and I feel like if God has done all of this so I can just take care of my kids, then I'm no different from someone who wouldn't even have a testimony like me.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why if God gives me breath, I want to use it every single day to please him.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, let's get started with your early years. Where were you born and what city, and, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. I can't even get the name right anymore. It's been a long time.
For short,
they might kick me out now. Definitely the Congo. In Kinshasa, the capital.
Okay.
It was a tough upbringing, if I can say, in many ways.
Sure.
As you know, the Congo is one of the richest countries in natural resources. No question about that. In the world.
Yes.
In the world, as a matter of fact. the cell phones and computers that we use, the 80% of the money, the natural resources that they use for it comes from the Congo, the coltan.
Yes.
And 60% of the cobalt come from the Congo.
Wow.
So the Congo participated or continued to participate in the evolution of technology really everywhere in the world. But unfortunately, because of politicians that only care for themselves, 80% of the country lives in poverty.
Still is in poverty.
And exactly. And so I grew up in that side of the world with my father was a math professor.
Wow.
And the mom who was a nurse. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough because of the simple fact that they worked for government buildings and they can only get paid when the government let some money come down. And because they would steal everything, what trickles down was nothing. They would go for 6 months without pay and still had to keep alive a couple kids that they have. So I grew up in that world thinking, man, there is no hope for me. There's nothing I can do. Going to school and becoming like my parent would just end up in poverty and being among the 80% of those that don't have anything. So that's kind of,
and it's pretty amazing. Your dad's a math professor. Your mom's a nurse. They're high level professionals.
Yeah.
You know, and yet, you know, water was a difficult thing in the Congo, you know, and yet you've got all of these resources and the rest of the world is benefiting from.
Exactly.
And the people of Congo are not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that had
to be frustrating.
It is. It's always has been frustrating for me. But, you know, growing up, I didn't realize that I was even in poverty until I started looking at everybody else who had something. But it was just normal because as a child, you're thinking that's where I'm at. That's what the situation is.
No, exactly.
But I can tell you that it became more frustrating when I realized, you know, getting out of the Congo, how much more was out there and learning that how the Congo has been part of the evolution of even the technology itself around the world. So
amazing.
Yeah, that was the frustration where it became real.
Yeah. Well, my daughter actually spent some time in Congo.
Wow.
She went with 5 other people.
Okay.
They were in Kinshasa.
Wow.
And she's 6 foot tall. And she was the shortest of the 6 of them that went. And so it was an interesting time. And so here are these tall white people, you know, in the Congo. And as they would walk through the village and stuff, different places, they took computers and stuff and started working with kids, but did missionary work.
Beautiful.
But it was, I don't know what the word was, but they kept hearing white people coming, you know. So, but 6 foot tall in the Congo because the average height there is a little shorter than that. You know, but it was an amazing time. She was thrilled to be there, and the people, fantastic smiles, great attitudes in the face of poverty. Amazingly overcoming terrible circumstances. You know, so
and that's the beautiful part about the Congo. And you know, sometimes we paint the picture of poverty and difficulty. But I think it's really more of resilience. In the mix of that poverty. Seeing how the family is together, how any parent, and that's the reason why when I look at you, I see you like my dad, and I respect you as such, because we grew up in a neighborhood where you have to call anyone that looks like a father, anyone that looks like a mother, and they have the right to tell you, hey, son, come down that tree and go to your parents. So they have that authority already over you.
So you had an expanded family in your neighborhood.
What we always say, that it takes a village to raise kids. It's a reality in places like that where it's everybody that is involved, because to be honest, that's one of the advantage of not having enough. You need the neighbor to get some salt, right? So therefore, you have to have good relationship with them, and they involved with you and your kids. And so that's that community idea, and you feel it when you go there. They're always welcoming because that's just what they've done. That's it for years. You can just walk to someone who's eating and sit down and share the meal with them.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the positive part.
You'd lose a hand here if you tried that.
Oh, definitely.
If I went to a sidewalk cafe, but
no, you can't try it now.
Well, tell me, mom and dad are still alive and in the Congo. How often do you get back to see them?
The last time I've been in this country for almost 16 years.
Wow. So this is home now.
Actually almost 19 years now, but
Wow.
the last time was 3 years ago for the first time.
Okay.
So it's just because life in America is difficult, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
I've been working from just learning the new language, going to school full time. Then you find yourself in a job, and then
Yeah.
very quickly it's a career that you're working on, and then it's family, and then you start putting everything, procrastinating, basically
Of course.
putting everything in the back burner until one day it's a decision that you have to
Well,
make.
COVID didn't help either.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
of course.
so we've got the isolation that took place with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're going to be right back with Fredy Tshibanda, a mechanical engineer with a great story and a really good book, Engineered to Make a Difference. We'll talk about those things when we return for our next segment. Facebook folks, thanks so much for being here. Really glad that you've joined us. Hit that share button so a lot of folks can know about Fredy and about his book, Engineered to Make a Difference. It's really a cool book, a great story. It's actually got some little highlights from people like Larry Powell, Pastor DJ Kreiner, Tom Jones, Stan Guthrie, Angelus Wilson, just one of my favorite people in the world. Just some really good reading. Get it on Amazon. You can get an audio version of it as well.
People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And we're with Fredy Tshibanda today, and just a wonderful story of coming from the poverty that he experienced growing up in Kinshasa, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And amazing story. Dad, a math teacher, professor, mom, a nurse. You would think, wow, what a great life, and yet poverty even existed there because of the selfishness of some politicians, in the Congo, where it's one of the richest resource countries in the world.
Yeah.
Our cell phones, your iPhone, your iPad, all of that stuff, you've got that because of places like Kinshasa, the Congo, and all the resources that are there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Listen, Fredy, tell us a little bit about brothers and sisters. Tell us about the rest of the family.
Yeah. I am the baby of 3 older brothers.
Okay.
The oldest is a computer engineer. The second is a doctor, a medical doctor. The third is an accountant. And I am the baby.
And you're a mechanical engineer.
Yes. As you can tell, Dad was able to influence us in math. Math became everything that we knew. But I always say that I was the worst kid in the family. I messed up the family's name everywhere. I'm not sure why, but I do know why. I think desperation was the key. I just felt like I would never amount to anything. I felt like there was no chance for me to ever become anything more than the suffering situation that I saw around me. And so,
yet you saw the educational expertise, you saw that kind of success, but still experienced poverty.
Exactly.
Boy, that's got to be frustrating.
Exactly.
No doubt about it.
So to me, growing up, I felt like I had 3 best option, right? The first one is to become the president of the Congo, like any young man in my time, because in that time, Mobutu was the president and he was the king. Everybody danced for him. The guy had millions, and he was the one really taking all the resources. So I thought, man, if I can become that guy, this is it. I solved my problem. I just got this going on. The second option was to be a musician or a singer, because they seemed like they had it going on also.
Yeah.
And then the third option was to actually get out of the Congo, go anywhere else but the Congo.
Yeah.
But I was really a hard-headed kid, gave my parents the hardest time. I always say that I would never wish a child like me to anyone, not even my worst enemy. I will go to different schools where my big brothers were there, and they would literally ask me, are you sure you're part of that family? Because we know them all.
Oh, wow.
It seems like maybe you were adopted or something. So that has always been my my story in a sense.
That's your cross to bear, huh?
Exactly. just the black sheep of the family, the one that messed up the name. And mom was always embarrassed every time she went to my school because of all the bad reports that came out of it. She was always the smartest in her school back then when she was growing up, and yet she was dealing with a son who will always be the last in school, and it was just embarrassing.
Fredy, that's a good example because you were smart. Obviously, you got your mechanical engineering degree and everything like that, but you were disaffected by everything. You said, "I'm gonna be who I want to be, do what I want to do, no matter what's going on, and who cares?"
Exactly, and that's the point. And I think
God did care.
Amen.
Because a different plan.
Amen. But that's the reason why I am so much about mentoring, because we see kids that are failing. Yeah. And we think that they're not smart when we don't know. Desperation does that to you.
Absolutely.
When you feel like there is no open door, there is no reason to behave. There is no reason to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly who I was. It was more of the desperation making me feel like I didn't have a choice if it is just to act crazy.
Yeah. So you got through secondary school.
Yeah.
Do they call it high school in the Congo?
Yeah, it's secondary school would be.
So secondary school. Yeah. So once you got through with that, what happened next? Where did you go? What did you do?
So the plan was for me to start college, because back then all the three big brothers were already in college.
And where did they go?
They went to the biggest University of Kinshasa. It's basically what you call that.
Okay.
But that's the biggest university in town in Kinshasa.
So that was the plan for you.
That was the plan for me too. But God had a different plan, so it kind of worked out for me, because I don't think I would have done well either. But somehow God allowed me to at least graduate, and then while I was trying to make the decision of what I really wanted to do in college, because here's what my dad always say. He say that, listen, I know that you see education doesn't bring you much, and I understand that feeling, but I need you to also know that it's better for you to have an education and be poor, because you at least know how to navigate through the problem of life, than to have no understanding and be rich, because you will figure out a way to lose it all.
So great words from your dad.
Oh yeah, my dad had great words, but definitely more whooping than words. And so he will combine the two to give us an understanding that we never had before. But I love it because I had a combination of a mother who really was just loving and was able to use her words to explain sometimes what dad was doing with the whooping. But we grew up in a family where, for dad, he knew that it was his responsibility not only to send us to school and to feed us physically, but also to feed us spiritually. So what that means is every morning we had to be dragged to church, and he would sit in the back watching us when we are sitting up front, so that we don't play in the church. And you can feel his two eyes just watching you. You can't even move. But he believed in that, and that's the reason why, to him, if you don't go to church, you don't eat. And because I needed to eat, I had to go to church. Little did I know that I was learning something. But all of us were kind of together in that sense, where our parents were on us to make sure that we put God first, that we worked harder in the education and to become somebody, but definitely to even do greater things in the community.
I love that. My father was one of the kindest people I've ever known in my life. I only got spanked maybe twice. Maybe twice.
Man.
And one of them, he took me out and my brother and walked us out to the street. It was a very busy street we lived on. Mom was in the kitchen looking out the window, and we walked out there, and he gave us both a big swat.
What?
And he said, if you ever go in the street, that's what's going to happen to you.
Wow.
So he wanted to make sure we knew, don't go in that busy street. I'll tell you what, I won't cross a street today. But he was the kindest man in the world. So we each had different experiences on that side of things, but God had a plan for us.
Amen.
So here you finished with your schooling. What got you to America? How did that all come about?
So as I was dealing with all that struggle, tension in me, knowing that, man, I don't think I have a chance at all. God was so great that one of my prayer was really granted, which was to get out of the Congo. So my dad's younger sister, my auntie, lived in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ah,
And she knew.
Billy Graham territory.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I remember even driving on Billy Graham Street. It's
Yes.
right there by the library now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she knew how hard it was for our parents to care for all of us. And so she decided to adopt the two younger ones. It was me and the brother who's right in front of me.
Wow.
Who's an accountant now.
Yeah.
And so when that decision was made, the entire family, because with the Congo, like I told you, families are very close. Cousins are just like brothers and
Yes.
sisters. And aunties are just like parents. So all the aunties and uncle were against it because they knew how bad I was. And they knew that if I was to come to America,
You'd influence everybody.
Exactly. Not only that, there is all opportunity, the good and the bad. And so they felt like I would end up in jail. They felt like I would die early, or they felt like I will just do something crazy. And so they thought it should have been the best thing to keep me there so that they can have 24/7 supervision on me, and that my dad will be there to whoop me when that was needed. So that's kind of what I had to deal with. But because of my aunt, this opportunity was given to me. My parents had to make the decision. They prayed about it, and finally they decided to let me go. So I don't know if they were just trying to get rid of me since I was already problematic, but somehow they decided to do that. And I can still remember as if it was yesterday when they took us to the airport. They asked us to kneel down and they prayed for us. And then my mother said these words. She said, "Son, we taught you about everything you needed to know. Number one, put God first in your life.
Wow.
Number two, work as hard as you can. Never be okay with mediocrity. And number three, pursue to be a blessing to someone." And these were not just empty words, but it was how they lived their life. They were always dragging us to church and had responsibility in church. They worked hard even though they didn't get paid at all. And not only that, they served in their community. My dad was like a mentor to all the fathers and young people in the community. And my mom, as a nurse, will go from house to house to check on people that are sick that can't go to big hospital, because we had access to the big hospital because my mother worked there, not because we had the money. But there are so many people that would die home because they didn't have that. So they really exemplify what it means to put God first, to work hard, and to pursue to be a blessing. And so these were the words that stayed in my mind.
So that had to be your first airplane flight too.
That's it. This is it. I was right there. I couldn't even wait for them to finish the speech so I can jump in, because I didn't want to miss that opportunity. So it's a day that stayed in my mind, because that was my exit.
So you're in the Congo. You're on the plane. Where did you first land?
We landed to South Africa first.
Okay.
And we spent some time there. An uncle that we had took care of us over there for a little while. And then while the process has to take its course, and while the process was going through, we were there, and then right after that we left South Africa for the U.S.
And you're heading to Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes. And some interesting things happened once you got there.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And my special guest today is Fredy Tshibanda, a mechanical engineer who has written a really cool book, Engineered to Make a Difference. And we're going to hear more about that as soon as we get back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down. People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And my special guest today is Fredy Tshibanda. And Fredy, you've got a really fascinating story, because most people would not write the ending, or at least the middle part of your life right now, in the exciting part of your life, with what you started out with, but God had a different plan.
Amen.
And was your aunt a Christian?
Yes.
As well? So, so you come into a Christian setting in Billy Grahamville, Charlottesville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so she's got you going to church too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No questions asked. That wasn't a choice. That was something that they learned from their parents.
Yes.
My father and her sisters and brothers. My dad, my grandfather was that strict. He was the first teacher in the village, but also the first preacher in the village. He had the opportunity to be taken care of by some missionary that led him to Christ and also taught him to become the teacher. So that's how he gave this value to my parents, my dad, to put God first and to work hard and pursue education and to be a blessing to others. And turns out my mother also had the very same upbringing. Her father was also a kid that was taken care of by the missionary. And so they ended up meeting really with the same vision in another village where there were teachers, both of them. And then they came to Kinshasa to pursue their upper education, where my dad became a professor and my mom became a nurse.
That's absolutely amazing. Well, they've got to be really proud of you now, even given the early days. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So the Tshibanda name is back in good standing.
Oh, yeah. By the way, just so you know, we do a little thing. We do things differently when it comes down to naming. My dad's name is actually Sulu. So my name is Fredy Tshibanda Sulu, which means Fredy Tshibanda, son of Sulu.
Okay.
But the way we see it is that I am Tshibanda. My dad is Sulu.
Gotcha.
So I am Tshibanda, son of Sulu.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I go by Tshibanda.
Well, and that's like Jacob's son out of Sweden.
Exactly.
You know? So
there it is.
Jacob's son becomes Jacobson.
Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, fascinating stuff. So you went to the University of North Carolina.
Yes.
Did you get your mechanical engineering degree there?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly where I got my degree.
So once you got your degree, where did you go from there?
Now, before even we get there, because I think the choice of becoming an engineer was very important. I knew that I couldn't speak the language, and so I thought, because I know math, right? Because my dad literally obligated us to learn math. As a matter of fact, we had a choice. When you do something wrong, you had a choice to resolve a math problem or to get the whooping. Now, if you get the math problem right, you get away from the whooping. Yeah. And if you get it wrong, you still get the whooping. So sometimes I felt like, there's no need to do the math. Just give me my whooping so I can go away.
I love it.
But so I felt like, hey, I'm good at math, and math in French
is international
math in
language.
English. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I thought going engineering would be no English whatsoever. That's really what I believe. Of course, I was completely wrong. My first class was English 111. My second class, communication. And so it ended up basically being an English class while doing engineering. But I'm glad today I'm speaking to you, sending emails daily.
And speaking very well.
I appreciate it. But so that's where I started with the engineering, the choice of engineering. But my frustration came when I realized how blessed this country was. Wow. I realized how many blessings that God has bestowed in this country while nothing was in the Congo. And it shook my faith, because then the question was, what I've always learned and what my parent has always repeated was that God was just. Yes. But how just is God if I did not get the opportunity to be born in America? I felt like if God was just, I should have been born in America so that I can enjoy all the blessings from the beginning. Yes. And so I remember calling my mom to tell her, Mom, I just want to let you know that you can go to school full-time and work full-time with a side business here. I want to let you know that I will become successful and I will build you a mansion, because I can go to school full-time and work full-time. And my mom was laughing. And I say, why are you laughing? I'm really serious. She said, son, are you okay? And I say, I'm okay. She said, listen, the reason why I'm laughing is because this is the first time I hear you make a sentence with school and work in it. Because I know you don't like school and you don't like work. And I say, Mom, I'm very serious. I will build you a mansion. And what she told me was this. She said, son, you still don't get it. We did not do this for you to take care of us. Wow. We've done what we could with what God has given us to serve everyone around us, including you, so that we can teach you what it means for you to serve other people around you. So what I need you to remember is that for us, if we were to die today, I will be thankful that God has given me the minimum that I had, and I've used it all. I've leveraged everything that I have for God. And she asked me, do you remember the words that I gave you at the airport? I said, yes, Mama, I remember. Put God first. Are you putting God first? I said, yes, I'm still going to church every morning. I said, good. Are you working hard? And I said, yes, that's the reason why I'm preparing to get a job. And I already started a side business where I'm working on my cars to sell them. And so I am working on that. And she said, are you pursuing to be a blessing?
Yeah.
That I couldn't answer because I was not pursuing. Yes, I will help someone when they come to me, but that was
you
not
weren't looking for the opportunity.
That was not something that was first in my mind that I want to be a blessing to someone. And so that right there got me to start thinking differently a little bit, but I was still challenging Mom, calling me that I am blessed when I know that for me to be blessed, I should have been born in America.
Wow.
So,
but what wisdom she had. And what she said there is something for all of us. No matter what you have, do what God wants you to do with what you have.
Yes.
And don't fret because you don't have more, and don't chafe because you don't have less.
Yes.
I mean, that's an amazing message that she shared with you.
And that's the beautiful thing about her is that everything she talked about was based on the Bible, right?
Wow.
And when she said put God first, the Bible says seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness.
Everything else.
And everything else will come, because the Bible, you literally say in that same verse that God knows what you need.
Yes.
Right? Do not worry about what you will eat or drink or wear, because pagan goes after these things. But your Father, the Heavenly Father, knows exactly what you need. But seek ye first the kingdom, then everything else will be given unto you.
Proverbs 38:9 says that don't ask for too much, because then you'll say, who's God?
Yes.
Don't ask for too little, because then you'll curse him.
Right.
So your mom was right on. With her whole thing there. Plus, it's a real interesting thing. I think it was Chuck Swindoll said, you've never seen a hearse followed with a whole lot of your things, because it doesn't follow you to heaven.
Right. Exactly. And so on the work hard, she always talked about the story of the talent, right?
Yeah.
The one that had 5 came back with 10. The one that had 2 came back with 4. But the one that had 1 complained about the idea of it. Exactly. So he was afraid.
Yes.
But what he did not realize, the Bible says that the master gave them according to their abilities or their gifting, meaning the master knew that he had enough ability to work on the one and to multiply it.
Yes.
Because the master will not set you for failure. He knows exactly what you need.
Yes.
And that's what I always tell people. If you can't do anything with the 1 talent you have, I guarantee you will not do anything with the 5.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you have enough ability to do something with the little that you have. Because what it matters is the ability, the gifting that God has placed in the inside of you.
Absolutely.
So I've learned a lot of these things from her to know that, hey, there is a verse that always backs up what she talks about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, and that pursuing, helping others takes me right to what you're doing now, which is United for the Future. It's a mentoring program.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's absolutely fascinating. Adams Elementary School was where you started doing this. So tell us a little bit about it.
So the backstory in that is that my first job was in the jailhouse. As a matter of fact, I did not know it was a jailhouse. I was looking for a job, and I went to the unemployment office, and there they gave me this opportunity to go and check down the street. There was a building there that they're looking for people. So I went there, and turns out it was a jailhouse.
It was a jail.
And exactly. So they took me, because the manager was willing to have a conversation with me to interview me that same day. And they took me through the security door, and I was afraid because I figured out, oh my God, my family was right. I ended up in jail. This is it. They're not going to let me out.
A little different perspective.
This is it. So I sat down with the manager, who asked me questions, and then he found out that I was 20 years old and not 21 years old. And so he decided to say, listen, I'll still take your application, but we can't hire you unless you're 21 years old. So they let me out. I was really happy for that. And then 3 days after, he calls me and say, I hired you. And I did not realize why. When I came back is when I found out that this man who did not look like me, this man who had nothing to do with me, did not know my history at all, went to the captain and told the captain, I want to hire this kid.
Wow.
And they said, listen, he's younger and we can't accept that. That's against the rule. I said, no, I really want to hire this kid. Whatever it is that you want me to do, I'll do it. And so the captain told him, I said, I'll let you hire him, but it's going to be your neck on the line. If anything happens, you will be responsible. And he accepted to allow me to be able to work there.
Amazing.
And they worked around my school schedule, and it was just a blessing. As much as the job was hard dealing with inmates when you can't speak English, but I still love the fact that he gave me this opportunity. But the inmates gave me the hardest time. Laugh at my English every time, and I hated the job, quit the job every day, came back the next day because I needed money. Eventually, I made a contract with them, say, hey, listen, you teach me English, right? You can laugh at me all you want, but teach me how to pronounce the word so that I don't get laughed at again. And that's how we became friends. So the English I know, I've learned it from there.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
I tell you, Fredy, you've got just a fascinating story, and we want to hear more about your mentoring thing, but also Engineered to Make a Difference in your book. So I can't believe how fast our segments go each time, but we've finished with 3 segments already. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down. The People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to our last segment for today, Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. And my special guest today is Fredy Tshibanda. And Fredy, you have such a fascinating story, and we've gone through 3/4 of an hour already.
I know,
and it feels like we've just been here 2 minutes. But what you've done is lived out what your mom said to you while you were on your knees at the airport in Kinshasa, getting ready to join your auntie in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And especially that last part of looking to do something for somebody else, but pursuing that's such a critical concept.
Yes.
So you've started up United for the Future, and you started a mentoring program in Adams Elementary School, one of the very, very tough areas of town.
Yes, sir.
Kids that are hurting, kids that are bright, but kids that are hurting, families that struggle.
Right.
And yet you've brought into their life.
Right.
You brought in people who saw in these kids the ability to succeed.
Yeah.
And so we end up with just a fascinating thing, United for the Future.
Right.
And you've had programs to raise money for it. You've expanded to other schools and doing just some amazing things. So give us a 2-minute version of that, and then I want to talk about your book.
Okay. So as I was telling you, when I made relationship with these guys in the jail, my main question to them was, why are you here? Why in the country that is so blessed, you end up here?
Great question.
And what they told me was, I never had a father.
Wow.
I never had someone that was there to teach me what I needed to know. So I had to do what I wanted to know.
Almost all of them were fatherless in jail
80%,
anywhere.
80% of the people
Amazing.
in jail are fatherless.
Yeah.
And that's where it dawned on me that I was praying to be born in America, but I never prayed to have parents who taught me to put God first, to work hard, and to pursue to be a blessing. That's where my whole concept have changed. Now I realize my identity has changed. I was no longer just a kid who would not amount to anything. I was no longer the kid that was cursed to be born in the Congo, but I was rather a kid that was blessed by God to have role models that taught me what I needed to know so that I can be a blessing to someone.
Yes.
And I realized Mama was right. I don't know how many times I said that in my life. I should have just listened to her the first time. But that's where the mentoring came about. 2 vision that came in my mind.
Your effort was to get male adult role models into the elementary schools so those
Not
kids
just
had
male,
somebody.
male adult, but any adult who was willing to be a positive. Exactly. Just like I say, a village, right? It raised kids. If we can come out of our responsibility, whatever it is that we do, we just give an hour to a child. We can change their trajectory from going to jail directly because of lack of role model to hand it up somewhere and becoming an engineer like me. It's possible. If I was able to do it with my broken English, I know these kids can do much better.
How do they get a hold of you if they'd like to be a mentor and work with you?
Definitely. I work with different churches. I work with Northwest Church. I work with South Point Church. I work with Saint Rest and even Westside Church of God. And so the best way to really reach out to me, you can look up United for the Future, U4F.com. That's basically the website. But also reach out to those churches if you are affiliated or know someone there and they will quickly reach out to me. So there is even
That's great.
every neighborhood partnership, we work with them too. So there is many ways that we can really connect because those kids really need our help. We need to be out there.
One of the things that I know kids need really a lot is this. They want that consistency too. So if you're going to volunteer, plan to be there for at least a year for the school year.
Yes.
Don't come and do 3 weeks and say, oh, this is too hard.
Exactly. Exactly. I always tell people commitment will get you started.
Yep.
But consistency will allow you to finish. If our objective is to help these kids become somebody, become all that God created them to be, don't just commit to start, but you got to have commitment to finish it to the end.
Absolutely.
Where you see the kid become someone.
Fantastic. Well,
beautiful.
I really encourage you folks, United for the Future, check with one of the churches that was mentioned, Northwest, West Side Church of God, South Point, and then St. Rest.
St. Rest,
so there's an avenue for you to spend some time. But I want to talk about your book, Engineered to Make a Difference.
Yeah.
Why did you write the book?
One thing is sure is that I know that God has done so much. As I just share my story, there is no mathematical equation that could have predicted me standing here, going from a child who slept on the floor.
Yeah.
And I felt like God has given me a way to learn who I am, because we are all struggling with our identity. As a matter of fact, what the devil does is he messes with your identity and he messes with what you know about God. He tells you God is not what he says he is, right? Like he said to Eve, is that what God say? That's God doesn't love you that much. He just doesn't want you to be like, so basically he messes with our identity.
He's the author of lies.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when your identity is messed up, you no longer can be what God called you to be, because God is the ultimate engineer. He has designed you for something specific. And when someone designs something, he has a book. In that book, it's the on your manual that tells you who you are, and that's the Bible. So there is clear instruction of who you are, but you can only get that from the author of the book, from the ultimate engineer. So we all struggle with our identity, as I shared about my identity that changed as I went through life and learned from so many influences. And I feel like not only I'm sharing my story there, and I also have many pastors that have contributed to kind of just emphasize on that same idea, seeing my story in their lenses, to explain how our identity really has to be connected to God.
Yeah.
So engineered to make a difference. If you really figure out what God made you to be, all you can do is to impact someone, to be a blessing to someone.
Yeah, and it really is a good book. It's a book that folks need to look at. Bill Lyles did the foreword for you, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
He's well known here in town as well. And, you've got just a lot of really good things going on with this. I noticed to your wife, Bijou, who showed me the unconditional love of supporting. You've dedicated the book partly to her, and obviously Emmanuel Sulu, your father, but your mother, Anne-Marie Sekeli.
Oh, yeah, Sekeli.
Sekeli.
That means secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's the secret. That's the secret weapon that I had right there.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So they can get it on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah. And you also have an audio version, because let me tell you, a lot of people are in their cars, they're driving or they're running, doing their athletic stuff.
Yeah.
You got your headset on. Be a great way to get a hold of this book and listen to it on a regular basis. And obviously it's something that was meant to be shared with a lot of folks.
Yes.
And I love chapter 3. It says, what is the designer's meaning for life?
Exactly.
You've got some really great things. And I know Keith Jasmazian, one of the pastors, South Point Church, has a section in here about going deeper and stuff. I'm looking through it, and there's just so many good things in the book. And I really encourage folks, if you get a chance, Engineered to Make a Difference. It's designed for success and lasting significance.
Yes.
Fredy Tshibanda. Pretty amazing, Fredy. Tell me, what was the probably the kickoff inspiration that said, I got to do this book?
To be honest, I've been working on it for I would say about 6 years.
Okay.
But I've been so busy serving everywhere and mission trip here.
Doing what number 3, what mom said
exactly,
to do.
right. That I've really never had a time to actually sit down. And then came 2020, the shutdown, right? So we couldn't be in the schools anymore. We had over 80 mentors in different schools. And because we couldn't be in the school, and I had to basically go from school to school during my lunchtime and then run back and do my design work. But during 2020, there was this shutdown that kind of allowed me to sit down and finally.
Actually a blessing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in everything, there is always a blessing in it. and God had to kind of just give me some space just to be able to do this, because I know that this can reach even more people. I'm kind of locked in Fresno right now in all the things that I'm doing, but this book can travel far that I can't. To allow people to really just know that God has created you for a reason, that you are not a mistake. You are not a biological error, that God created. Listen, as an engineer, that's what I do. I design system, and I never design system without a purpose. And if a flawed human, average engineer like me can think about purpose, how much more will God think about purpose in his design? And if you are his design, then there is a purpose in your life.
Absolutely.
And so don't give up, don't give in, don't make a permanent decision to a temporary situation. That means don't take your life away because of a temporary situation that you're going through. Because guess what? God still has a plan for you.
You know what?
They have so much.
Fredy, pretty amazing. You know, just a quick review. You're born in the Congo. You want to get out of the Congo. Your mom and dad teach you about the Lord. Mom tells you these 3 important lessons that you need to know. God first. Make sure you work hard. And look for ways to do things for other people. You know, and you listen to her. Out of that, you end up in Charlotte, North Carolina with your auntie. You go to college to get your mechanical engineering. You end up here in Fresno, California, impacting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids with mentoring. You end up doing exactly what mom said to do. You write a book, Engineered to Make a Difference. I'll tell you what an amazing life, Fredy. And you know, we're only halfway there.
I know. And let's not forget that I did build that mansion that I promised mom, but it was not the mansion that I thought it was. It ended up being a hospital where we are now helping many people. We still finished we'd already finished the first floor, and so many kids have been born already. You know,
I got to get you back so we can talk about what you're doing in the Congo now.
Beautiful.
You know, for a lot of folks, and your mom is a nurse, building a hospital, pretty unique. And we're going to talk maybe about the second floor, second time around. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style, with Fredy Tshibanda today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.